What's up, guys? Welcome back to Showstoppers. In this episode, we're going to be speaking with Colton Trcic, who is the content production manager at Design Pickle, to learn what it takes for a B2B company to really come up with original ideas that are both fun and entertaining, but in the same time still are true to the brand and still true to all of the company goals. We unpack that and a lot of other super practical things in this episode with Colton. I can't wait for you to check it out coming up. Hey Colton, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Kareem.
So for people who may not have known you from before or seen you in any of the videos that you guys are putting out, do you want to give us a quick intro to yourself, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Colton Trcic, and I'm the content production manager at Design Pickle. So all of our ads, all of our series, all of our trainings, webinars, live events, basically any audio, visual, media content that Design Pickle creates, I help engineer, produce, and bring to reality.
I love it. And, Design Pickle is such a lovable brand. I think anyone who hasn't seen the content that you guys are putting out, specifically on YouTube, among other channels, should definitely check it out. Do you want to give us a quick sort of like backstory on the genesis of the Pickle Suit Guy, or the PSG as you guys call him?
So Pickle Suit Guy actually started. The original genesis is that our founder and CEO Russ Perry wore a pickle suit and pushed a not a shopping cart, ice cream cart that he bought around and had branded with Design Pickle around a convention center here in Phoenix. And that was the first dawning of the pickle suit for events. And it kind of became a norm. If we go to an event or a trade show, we would, somebody would be in the pickle suit at some point, usually the newest employee. It's kind of like a rite of passage. But last year, actually, so Black Friday 2019, we wanted to do an ad to correspond with our sale. And my team member Max had written this ridiculous script that was a pseudo documentary on a man whose all of his problems were solved by wearing a pickle suit.
Right.
And it was this very tongue-in-cheek ad that we thought it was fun, and we could shoot it quick. Like, it was written in a day. I revised it a little bit, and then it was just like, all right, I'll be the pickle suit guy, and let's just go film this. Like, we could do it easily with two people, like no money spent on props, just stuff we had. And we went and we stole locations, and super indie filmmaking. Like, I walked in and out of a Walmart a couple of times, and he just rolled. We filmed at the Bashes up the street, at a couple of restaurants as well. And we just like walked in and asked, like, hey, can we like sit at a booth real quick and sit in a pickle suit and film this bit? And they were like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I even walked into a laundromat in my underwear. Also just walked up to the laundromat owner and was like, hey, we're doing this internet video. Can I walk in my underwear? It's like a gag. And that video just blew up. Our paid ads manager at the time, Dave, wanted us to just put a bunch of money behind it. And so we had the Pickle Suit Guy reveal was at 6 seconds, and it starts off with this sappy, stock video. So it totally comes out of left field and catches people completely off guard. Then they were hooked and they watched the whole thing. And it's, I think to this date, still our fourth best performing video on YouTube of all time as far as views. But comments and subscribers gained, like, those aren't really comparable. Like, that video just skyrocketed that. So then it was like, all right, well, when we look at what works, it's the Pickle Suit Guy. So what other on-brand things can Pickle Suit Guy do that will promote Design Pickle? And we've now done a whole ad campaign where it is once again me in the pickle suit, basically pitching Design Pickle and all the benefits and features that can be found when you sign up.
I love it. I remember obviously before we our teams got connected and stuff. I remember I was one of those guys who would always skip ads and everything. And then I came across this ad, and I did know Design Pickle from before, but this was the first time that I think was formally introduced to the Pickle Suit Guy. And I was one of those guys who watched the ad till the end, and I think I shared it with my co-founder as well. I'm like, check these guys out. This is insane. It was hilarious, and it was just so powerful as well. There's so much substance to it, but it was just so effortless as well. I just loved it so much. I'm such a fan. But anyways, back to the topic at hand. So this is obviously Showstoppers, where we talk to companies about the shows that they created and anything that they've learned along the way to share it with our audience. And one of the shows that I absolutely love from Design Pickle is designer versus non-designer. So we're probably going to unpack that in other series that you guys have done. But do you want to give us just a quick, yeah, introduction to how that show came about to start?
Absolutely. So this one actually was created by Janet Sullis, who's the she's no longer with the company, but she is someone I went to college with. She's actually responsible for me being here at Design Pickle. I filmed a commercial with her for Design Pickle way back in 2016. And then I started full time in 2017. After that, I kind of rolled that into my career here now. But designer versus non-designer was her idea, and at the time, I was working on Russ's personal brand and his private work, and then she was working on Design Pickle. So I knew it was happening, but it wasn't until the first cut came out that I understood exactly what she was doing. And the whole play was to do a show where we, showcase exactly why companies, founders, whomever, shouldn't be DIYing their design. And it was, styled like a roast, basically, is what it was supposed to be. And she was a good personality for it, so it just kind of clicked. And that was the start of it. And then it was basically as soon as she could, logistically get a real design request from customers, to then have the customer write off on us. Hey, we're going to take your request and we'll take out any personal info, but we want to use a real request. And then she would arrange for a US team member who's a non-design background, and then a designer to actually participate in the episodes. And she rolled them out. I'd say like one a month or one every 2 months. They were kind of hard to produce back then. We've kind of grown and become more connected since then. They become a little bit easier, but that was the start of it. And that first episode just blew up. Again, our paid ads manager, Dave, just loved it, and we put a lot of money behind it and got it everywhere. It got so many comments. I mean, I think it still has like 250,000. I'm pretty sure organic views on Facebook. I don't think we were boosting Facebook at the time. And YouTube, it's at like 1.6 million, 170, 180 something comments, which for us is really, really good. And it is chronically disliked and hated on, which I think only fuels people's interest in it more. Because
Right.
I don't know, I guess some people don't get the joke. Like, of course the designer is supposed to win. Like, it's the whole point of the show is that the designer is going to win. It's just how badly does the non-designer mess it up, basically, is the fun. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's where it all started. Was really Janet just decided that she wanted to do a series, and we were doing live shows, and we had the Russ Perry show at the time, and other things, but this was prearranged, pre-edited, non-live, which back then for us was kind of a first.
Right. And I think it's like one of the most interesting things about it is that, with shows, naturally, people would resort to like the tried and tested, video podcast format, kind of like this one, I guess.
Yep.
What I loved about that is that it was almost like a game show in many ways. Obviously, the live commentary on it was like super cool. I wonder, like, if this was a conscious decision for you guys to do something that's totally, say, different from what people would normally expect in that regard.
I think especially then it was absolutely conscious. So if you go back to 2017, we were doing the Russ Perry show every Tuesday live. And that was essentially just Russ's like stream of conscious, like whatever he was learning, whatever was going on in the business. Like that was a very traditional kind of format. And I was running that. And then for Design Pickle, we were trying to figure out, okay, well, what's something different from that would then also still promote Design Pickle and still be entertaining and helpful, and get people to go like, oh, hey, Design Pickle, I've heard of them. Let's go check them out. And that's really where designer versus non-designer came in. We were also doing some, very fun, very off-the-wall ads at the time, like an infomercial parody and some other things. So Design Pickle's brand has always been kind of this quirky, we're fun and kind of snarky, but we're always helpful attitude. And that's kind of what we were trying to tackle with designer versus non-designer, just with like the snark turned up to 11, to
Yeah.
make it kind of feel like one of those like Comedy Central roasts sort of. But it was very much so a pattern interrupt as far as our content then, as far as shows goes, because we didn't have anything in that vein for a show, only for like, small form ads and things like that.
I love it. And based on your learnings from a show like that, obviously it was a while back, I suppose. Like, how did that that mindset of like turning the snark up to like 11? How did that transcend itself into like other content series that you guys have created since?
So we've done so many series. We've done how-to series. We've done live
Right.
training series. we've done a lot of different types of content, and I still think that designer versus non-designer is one of the most fun to do, simply because of how much snark we get to use. And when we're doing comedic ads, or when we're doing even helpful content, like we'll make quips, or throw a shot at like a marketplace, or I personally am not a fan of like the YouTuber jump cut. So we just did a piece recently where I took a little jab at the YouTuber jump cut. So we will take small chunks like that. But designer versus non-designer gave us like a dedicated forum where we could really just be ridiculous, and it went on for 6 episodes for the first season. And it was always a design request, and then a designer and a non-designer screen recording, and then live commentary. Janet would always do the commentary without ever having seen it before. So it was, basically as raw and as real as it could be. And then we ended that first season on her getting roasted by myself, and I want to say two other people. We actually, it was like a group roasting effort to kind of like equalize it after she had roasted like 5 people already. And then in season 2, which we did just last year, I mean, we really went like all out, and just it wasn't even design requests anymore. Like, it was just ridiculousness. So,
do you have any favorite episodes?
I am biased. I am the non-designer in the axe throwing episode, and I love Michael Brian Cruz. In fact, he's my designer. He's who does designs for me. But I roasted him at axe throwing in designer versus non-designer season 2. There's also the painting episode from season 2, which just is like, there's so much shade thrown back and forth between the two of them. It's hilarious. They were given a time challenge to do a paint. It was the Scream, but with the pickle instead of the famous Scream figure. And then going back to season 1, I forget which episode it is. I think it's maybe 2. It's when Alex Guevara does the challenge, because I love you, Alex, but your design was so bad that, like, I think Janet had to edit out some of her VO because it was just too mean. And so if you enjoy a good roast, like, that OG episode is just priceless. But yeah, those would be my top 3 for sure.
I love it. And I suppose, so I know you mentioned obviously like the how-to series and the training series that you guys do. It's easy to see, what I mean, the connection to like ROI, and how this like directly helps all of the key metrics that you guys are after. How about some of the more like quirky content? Like, how do you guys, or do you guys have a conversation around, hey, like, now that this is all over, how did this affect, let's say, acquisition, or how did this affect any of the other, like, say, marketing and acquisition metrics that you guys are after?
Yeah, absolutely. So really, I try to think of all of our video content in the terms of, top, middle, and bottom of funnel. And really the entertainment series, like designer versus non-designer, even to some extent, some of our more out there, like, helpful videos, like we did a like work from home tips video. I would argue that that's more maybe top-ish, middle of funnel. So those are, pieces that we know are just going to be like awareness plays, Same thing with Pickle Suit Guy. That video is a great awareness play, because people are like, Design Pickle, I don't, what is this? And then,
Right.
We get a ton of click through off that video, because everyone's so confused and kind of excited that they saw an ad that they actually watched. And, that's the magic sauce there. And that's the same idea with designer versus non-designer. I mean, this year didn't align for us as far as doing a season 3, but building off of how ridiculous season 2 was, we wanted to go all out and have like, Marines versus designers in paintball. And, we wanted to have like a professional driver versus a designer in a go-kart race. Like, just stuff that makes no sense. But like, if you're, browsing,
I would
around
totally
on
watch
YouTube,
that. Yeah.
or if you get served it as an ad and, you get the premise in 6 seconds, then you would watch it. So that's really how we justify the really off the wall quirky stuff is, do we have white space in our top of funnel content, that this would fit in? And to be frank, we've done so much fun stuff and so much middle stuff that now, like, I'm really starting to focus on the bottom, because we can do quirky, we can do fun. It's just who we are. Like those are the best projects to do.
Right.
But we do need to, we need to stop, slow down. We need to get into some, some deeper content so that we can keep people moving down. Both in consuming our content as well as servicing our clients too. They're always looking for new ways to, create or different things that we can help them with. So.
Right, makes sense. I think the what could have become and hopefully will soon become season 3 of designer versus non-designer. It reminds me of
I,
this fight that happened a couple of, I guess it was a couple of days ago at this stage, like versus, I forget their names, but like the YouTuber versus the NBA player. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
um, I don't. I know that there was a Mike Tyson fight just recently.
There
Which
was
is
that
like
one, and then I think it was like in
weird.
the same. So it was him, and then there was like a whole nother fight. Like I guess it was like a totally different thing between like this NBA player and like this YouTuber, and people were like like what's going on? Like this clearly has everything to do with boxing as we know it. So yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to season 3. I really hope you guys make it happen. Like I'm definitely a fan for sure. But yeah, going back
Uh,
to something important you said around like the shift to like more bottom of funnel content, or to really bulk that up further. You know what I mean? Like how do you guys think about that from a shows or like from a serial content perspective?
Well, from a serial perspective, I would say I haven't actually tackled it from a serial perspective yet. We've been looking at a lot of educational content. We've been doing some coursework and things behind the scenes, bringing our knowledge base to life in video. Essentially, that really deep dive content for Design Pickle that will both service, prospects who get really far down there and are like, okay, but how does this actually work? How do I set
Mhm.
up a zap to go from here to there with Design Pickle? And then also just like, how do I engineer a winning social media campaign? So actually, that's a good challenge for me, Kareem, is to think about how could we, get there with something serialized. We've done in the past office hours with our founder and CEO, Russ Perry, and that was a client only. Tr- it was every 3 weeks, so tri-weekly, every
Mhm.
3 weeks live stream that we would do, and he would, teach on a topic for about 15 minutes, and then it would be 15 minutes just open to him, ask whatever.
Mhm.
And so we have done things like that in the past, specifically for clients. That wasn't public facing,
Mhm.
but that was the last truly serialized low funnel item, or even I mean that's customer retention at that point. So
Right, right, yeah, and that's actually a really interesting one. I don't think I've heard of that before. So how would that work? It would basically be an office hours where the first part is almost like a presentation or a lecture, and then the second part is Q&A, right?
yeah, yeah. So it would be Russ is constantly reading, learning, and changing up tactics and things that he's doing both in his personal life as a as an entrepreneur and a CEO, as well as here at Design Pickle with where he's taking the company. So it
Hmm.
would be kind of like the flavor of the week. Like, what did he read this week? What was really sticking with him?
Oh,
What
okay.
did he do to change his routine to be more successful? Or, sometimes it could be a personal item like he, changed his workout to the afternoon instead of the morning and why. And then, other times it would be, hey, I just read this book on this new sales strategy that we're going to try implementing here, and here's what it is. And then the Q&A session would be questions on that, and sometimes it would just be questions in general.
Hmm.
Russ has taught on a wide variety of topics over the years, a lot of personal development and habit systems and all of that. So questions were pretty varied for that last 15 minutes, but we ran those the first half of 2019, and then I mean, to be perfectly candid, like Russ just is too busy and his time is too valuable, so we had to stop them just because we could no longer fit them in his schedule. And then 2020 has been a beast of its own. So
Right, I hear you. Yeah, makes sense. Um, yeah, no, that I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think one of the things that a lot of people would know Design Pickle for is again like the quirkiness of the content and how you guys just do it with so much, like yeah, it's just so effortless. It's the antithesis of companies that try too hard, in my opinion, or like who end up doing something that ends up becoming an infomercial. And I think a
mm-hmm.
lot of folks who might be tuning in might be really keen to know how you guys like come up with that secret sauce. Like, how do you make your content so original and entertaining, and whether it all happens like naturally, or whether this is like a conscious effort where you almost have, you know what I mean, like some form of a framework or some form of a process where you, a creative process where you come up with these ideas. I think people would definitely love to learn that from you.
Yeah, so for ad content, we really have adopted a framework this year. So we're huge fans of the Harmon brothers, and they've got Squatty Potty, Chatbooks, Fiberfix. Like I think they did one for Purple Mattress. I mean, their ads are just they're some of the most legendary ads on the internet. So we did take a course from them earlier this year, and we have adopted their framework for ad content. But when it comes to serials, it's really kind of an open creative dialogue. Like we're blessed here to have a ton of creative people. We just had a brainstorming session about something yesterday, and I was floored with the ideas that we were coming up with. But I think what's really important is whenever you're coming up, whether it's an ad or a serial or maybe even an interview series, and you wanting to do some sort of creative spin on it, bring not everyone, but bring like 3 to 4 or more other creative people together, even if they're not going to be writing it. Maybe they won't even be in it. Maybe they'll just, write one email down the line that sends it out. Still, get a couple people together. Don't ever brainstorm or try to create in a silo. And just for one meeting, no idea is off limits. Like that's really how we kind of come up with crazy things, then dial them back to where it's reasonable and we can create them. Is just during that first ideation phase, just everything's on the table. Like you want to fly across the world and do a globe-trotting series, like, okay, hey, we're going to put it down, and that's where then, okay, well, maybe we take a piece of that globe-trotting bit, and then we also take some of this stuff over here we came up with, and then we kind of synthesize it into what ends up being, tangible, but also the final product. So just don't ever shackle creativity in that first meeting. Like, nothing is off limits. That's the secret.
Yeah, it's interesting because like once like crazy ideas start coming out, and people try and top each other's ideas, with each idea like getting crazier, and then that process of like sort of like toning it down, but towards the end, I think that probably encourages people to just like open up as much as possible, because a lot of companies, they may think something and then they're like, oh, I'm not going to share that because like that's totally different from like anything that the company would even look at or consider, but I think it's just such an interesting exercise by, to put everything down, whether it's like on paper or whiteboard or Google Doc or whatever, just to like have it there. And it doesn't mean that, it's going to be the final one, but I think it just helps, if anything, it just helps other people to start thinking more creatively as well, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say one other tip for coming up with kind of quirky, original ways to do things is think about how you can show something instead of tell it. This is something that we are constantly trying to do. It's, myself and Max and some of the team here, we all went to film school, and that's, they tell you repeatedly anytime you take a writing class, like show, don't tell, show, don't tell. Well, it's the same when you're doing content, whether it's serial, ads, etc. Like if you can come up with a great metaphor that you can convey in a unusual way, but still, keep your core point valid, then that's going to be 10 times better than you standing there and saying, hey, here's my key point, and here's the evidence, and here's why it works. Like an example that comes to mind is actually from an ad that we just did. It's actually an ad series, and I know that's not the topic of this, but the metaphor was, why aren't you using a professional solution for your graphic design? So same core pain point behind designer versus non-designers. Why are you DIYing it, or like having your son do it? And
Right.
it was, why are you using you would never use landscapers to do your interior decorating? And we brought in like pavers and dirt and trees and like put it in the office and had people like raking it and moving wheelbarrows around, and like that was the metaphor. Like, this is ridiculous. Why would you be ridiculous? Let's do the right thing. Like, let's go outside. So
Right. Don't be ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the underlying metaphor without me ever saying, you're being ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous. So
Right. Show, don't tell. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Show, don't tell. That's my next piece of advice.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that makes a lot of sense. All right. And in terms of the how-to series and some of the other kind of like more like just generally like the more longer form videos that you guys create. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you guys go ahead and distribute that content, even like outside paid? I know that paid was very successful for you guys, but even like organically, I'm wondering like how you guys perhaps repurpose that content or think of it in a modular way where it's like, okay, it's this one video, but it's actually going to be used in this 3, 4, 5 different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. So our how-to series that we did just earlier this year was really championed by myself. So I actually ended up researching and writing all of the scripts for all of the how-tos. I learned how to design blog posts. I learned how to design banner ads. I learned how to design a tattoo. Building an
I love
app
it.
was a fascinating one. So like the process started with me researching all of that and compiling like a stream of consciousness script.
Hmm.
At the time, this was at the start of quarantine, so I didn't know who I would have access to produce these, so I wasn't worried about my stream of consciousness tripping up someone else's way of speaking. So I just wrote all these down and immediately then went, okay, hey, we're going to do these how-to videos. They're going to be a video on YouTube. Obviously, we want to pull some clips for, Facebook, Instagram, because we have a great social media manager, Tori. So we want to pull clips for those. And then we, of course, want to do, an actual blog post on the site. And that usually accompanies with like a blog slideshow, just a couple of quick facts that can be turned into like a slideshow for Instagram. Those will come out of kind of that creative process. So that one video was going to go to three destinations, and I mean we would tweet about it too, but we wouldn't post. Usually long form video doesn't do well on Twitter, so we wouldn't post it there. And then the blog, and then also basically like key points would be turned into stills for social as well. And we did that for, oh man, 12 videos. We produced so many videos that we couldn't keep up with the blog. Like we were just cranking on them, just nonstop, because I had prepped all these scripts in basically like a week and a half. And then, with batch recording, just come in, all right. And then, walk off screen, and then, different t-shirt, maybe put a hat on, just to, freshen it up a little bit. I mean, we filmed the first few in my living room because like, the office was kind of closed and everyone wasn't supposed to be there. So they were just filmed on my couch. And this was before we had a teleprompter. So I was like reading it, and then I would try to paraphrase it, and then I would read it. Okay. And then paraphrase. And oh man, the bloopers from those are just terrible. But yeah, that was the process there, was to make sure that it started with the script, and then the final video. And then from there we would pull out stills for slideshows on social. We'd pull out clips for social, and then we would, of course, have the video embedded on our blog with a full blog post, which was basically the script that I already wrote. So it very
Right.
much so fed itself and was sustainable.
Yeah, and that's what I love about repurposing content. I mean, it's very rare that like one of the most effective things you could do is also like one of the most efficient things. And I
Mm-hmm.
love what you were saying, because like with the repurposed content, it's not like like whatever, like second class content. Like it's got its own like life of its own. It's value adding in and of itself, and many of it may naturally link back to the original video. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And on the topic of batch recording, we're actually on a crusade of our own at the moment, to get as many videos as we can done, or more specifically, and I'm going to say it here so I'm accountable for it, but basically to get 100 videos done before the end of 2020 for an educational series that we have called Original Series Academy, where we basically talk about, okay, like how to get started with planning and growing your very own original series. And my mind kind of works like a manual car, so like once I'm up, all right, I'm up and I can get a bunch of stuff done. But then once that's over, like I have to like mentally prepare to get back in the game and things like that. And so I've been batch recording videos like crazy, man. I think so far, not in the same, I think across maybe 2 weeks, I've managed to record like 51 videos or something like that. Now these
Wow.
still need to go into like post production, obviously, and things like that. But like one tip that I definitely got from you today, and a reminder, is to switch up like what I'm wearing, because many times you'd see like 12 videos and it's me pretty much wearing the same thing. So that's definitely a good tip. Do you think a lot about about what you wear before you jump on videos?
I mean, I own so many Design Pickle shirts at this point that
Right.
odds are that I'm probably wearing one already, which only comes into being a problem if I'm like an extra in something, or frankly, I wear the pickle suit so much that's usually my outfit. But I also, in my mind, I always think that like educational pieces, it's more forgiving because it seems natural that of course they would have recorded this lesson all at once, even if it's like 10 hours.
Hmm.
Whereas like with videos that are released on a weekly cadence or anything like that, you're like, oh, this is the same thing he was wearing last week. Oh, and the week before that. So I do think of it in two different ways, because we have our own educational series coming out in the near future as well. And
Nice.
for those, we recorded those all in single sessions. They're not nearly as long as 50 or 100 videos. They're like, I'd say 15 to 20 minutes tops. So still very manageable, but those will be in chunks as well. So I
Nice.
don't think of it too often. It's usually Design Pickle shirt, and I usually keep a spare one here at the office with me. So if I have to change in a hurry, I can.
I love how like statistically like odds are you're probably wearing one already. So it's like it's safe to yeah it's probably a safe bet to hit record. I know there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who would just wear like a plain right like minimalism and stuff like that. They just wear like okay I'll do all my videos in a black t-shirt for example, and then I don't
Mhm.
have to think about it anymore, and it becomes part of like the thing, or like a gray t-shirt. I think that's a thing on YouTube as well these days. But yeah, no, that's definitely interesting, and I think with batch recording, you know do you find that do you find that it's like are there any disadvantages to batch recording, for example, like going away thinking, like coming back with a fresh perspective on things versus like just recording the videos all in one go in whatever state of mind that person is in right now?
I would say that the only time I think batch recording would be a bad idea is like if someone's just having a terrible day, like, and they're just not in the right headspace to begin
Yeah.
with. Like go meditate, or like go sit in the massage chair or something for like 15 minutes and maybe come back. Or just if today's not a good day, like hey, we'll film the next day. But for the most part, everybody that we bring in and put on camera here is very professional. They're ready to go. So when it comes to batch recording in coming back later, I would say the only time that that's beneficial in my eyes would be like if it's like a trendy topic or a situation that's still evolving.
Hmm.
Usually, if we're doing any sort of serial or educational series or anything like that, we've pretty well researched it ahead of time, and we've tried to stay away from things that aren't evergreen. Or evergreenish. Like we'll make callbacks
Hmm.
to famous ad campaigns or things like that. But that would be the only time where I think like pausing a minute could be beneficial. We've also tried to keep up with like trends on an aggressive basis, and that's just exhausting. Like you need to be dedicated to that if you're going to be dedicated to that. You can't be like one
Totally.
foot in the door of trends in order to keep up, because as soon as you get something created, the lag in creation time, usually
Hmm.
you'll lose the trend. Um, and that's something to be wary of. So if you are batch recording videos around a trendy topic, I would only wait and come back if it looks like that trend's about to shift. So then your video doesn't become instantly outdated. But then
Yeah.
it's a double sided. It's a double sided coin, because you could also miss the trend entirely. So it's a slippery slope with that one. But usually I would say just go 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 go, create create create.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'll be transparent and say like we're not really good at like current events, and we don't even attempt it because like our team is so small that we can't, or that is relatively so small that we can't possibly, do that justice. And so we're always trying to come up with evergreen content, or a new word that I learned from you today, which is evergreenish, which is good enough, right? Because you can probably create content that is relevant now and it's probably going to be relevant in the future as well. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I guess one of the things that I think is probably one of your strong suits, given your experience, even your academic experiences, like production, and obviously during COVID, and regardless of like what goes. Speaking of current events, like regardless of what happens with vaccinations and stuff like that, it seems that companies are either going to be going remote permanently for the foreseeable future, or they're going to be going remotely. Like my wife's company, for example, like they're going remote till like I think next fall at least, and then they'll see what they want to do after that. The point I'm trying to arrive at is that folks are going to probably continue to record a lot of virtual content, whether they,
Mm-hmm.
whether they realize it yet or not. And I was wondering if you had any like production tips or experience, or even any specific gear that you want to get into around just best practices when it comes to recording videos in a remote setting.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am very anti webcam. I don't think that in today's day and age, anybody should ever be using the built-in webcam on a computer. It's just
Mhm.
it's awful. The camera on your phone's better. So
100%.
for starters, if you have no other gear, if you have no other budget, do video from your phone. You can get a little tripod like clip for it, and a cheap tripod off Amazon for like $20, and
Mhm.
then just set that up. And then, next evolution of that would be get a microphone to plug in, or use some like, everybody has AirPods now. So, AirPods have a mic. Even that's better than, the mic on your phone when you're standing a few feet away. But when it comes to remote production, if you want to get really serious about it, kind of like we were chatting before the show, Kareem, about our own setups here, I love the Elgato Camlink
Mhm.
devices. They're so simple. They just seem to work with everything. And I come from a background of being a big Blackmagic fanboy. I've loved their products for a long time. I own 2 of their cameras. But with all the software updates and the security things that need to constantly be changed, unless you're in a dedicated broadcast setting, it's hard to keep Zoom or Wirecast or OBS working with the higher end Blackmagic products. So the Streamlinks are so easy. You plug it in
Mhm.
USB, and then you plug the HDMI cord in, and you can connect basically anything. So if you're wanting to do a video game stream for your work for some reason, like, by all means, fire that thing up. If you want to connect a Sony mirrorless camera like we do here, then
Yeah.
just get an HDMI cord and plug that in. And the
I
great
think
thing
I think
about
that's what you're doing at the moment, right?
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
I know this is a podcast, but my current setup is that I have an iMac in front of me. That's got a Streamlink connected to it, and that's running an HDMI cord into a Sony A6300 with a Tamron 28 to 70 f2.8 lens. And then the mic here is I actually don't know which Shure mic it is, SMB 7B, and that's running into an XLR mixer. This is when we do really nice, pretty audio. We do also just throw a wireless lav on the camera, so it's all coming in that one HDMI port, and that audio is just a little less refined, being a lav microphone as opposed to a full recording mic. But that's probably my favorite setup for 90% of people. Would
Mhm.
be to do just get like a Rode Link little mini wireless lav, clip it onto you, plug the other end into your camera, plug your camera into your computer via Camlink, and then that should show up in basically anything you use. Like, you can record directly on a Mac using QuickTime. You
Mhm.
can pump it right into Zoom if you want to do Zoom webinars, or if you need to look really good for a Zoom meeting. It's a great way. And then if you're recording off a computer, you can also see yourself. So if you're a one man band or a one woman band, then you can see yourself and see your framing from the computer, so that way that you're not stepping out or gesturing and your hands are getting cut off, etc.
Yeah, it makes total sense. It's so funny because I think we have really similar setups. I have like the ancient version of what you're talking about. So like I have a Sony A5100, and which is notorious for like overheating and stuff like that. So I just have like a dummy battery from Amazon that pretty much powers that, and I don't do any recording on the camera. So exactly as you said, like just we use the computer as the brain of the camera. So the camera is literally just on, right? And the cam link captures whatever the camera sees pretty much. And yeah, like we honestly just end up using that. I guess in our case, it's a bit weird because we always need the computer to record as well. Like we need the camera and the computer to record. Um, but given the fact that people are naturally not on the go with their camera and stuff as maybe they were before, you know for stationary setups, I think it definitely does it justice for sure. And so as we come to the end of this, Colton, like I know we could have probably spent hours talking shop further, but I'm super conscious of your time. Are there any parting thoughts that you want to leave us with on specifically to like fellow marketing managers and marketing directors who are maybe thinking of making that leap into episodic content? Do you have any tips for them at all?
I would say my biggest tip, if you're a marketing manager or marketing director and you're looking at getting into episodic content, look at the team that you have, and just from that, see what you can create. I was notoriously camera shy. I hated being in front of the camera when I started here at Design Pickle many, many years ago now. And now I'm in like every ad. And part of that was for my own personal growth and to become comfortable with it. But the other part
Nice.
of it was that I was available and I was in charge of that. And those were my deliverables. So I had to make it happen. So
I love it.
that would be my tip is just, start with the team you have and don't try and force it. Just what is natural to you guys, what would be something that would make sense for you to be creating, and start there.
I love it. Colton, thank you so much for your time today. And guys, for anyone tuning in, if you are interested to check out Design Pickle's content, Colton, where can they go to check it out?
We're everything /Design Pickle. So Facebook /Design Pickle, YouTube /Design Pickle, Instagram /Design Pickle, designpickle.com. We are very easy to find. I am partial to YouTube though, because that is where the bulk of my work goes. So be sure to check us out on YouTube, please.
100%. All right, Colton, thanks for your time today, and we'll catch you soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Kareem.
All right, see you guys.